There comes a moment in every generation when heaven sends a final whisper before the storm, a message not written on paper, but inscribed in the pulse of creation itself. You can feel it. The trembling of time, the shift in the unseen, the stirring in the spirit that says something is changing. The world is loud, but the voice of eternity still speaks softly to those who listen. The chosen ones, those marked not by title but by truth, can feel the pressure of this hour. The silence you've endured was never abandonment, it was preparation. You were hidden because your unveiling was not meant for the noise of ordinary days, but for the sacred weight of divine timing. Now that time has come. The systems of man are shaking, the masks of deception are falling, and what is false cannot survive what is coming. The message that has been sealed for ages is opening, and this final note has your name written in light. This is not a call to fear. It is a call to remember who you are, to awaken from the dust of delay, and to return to the flame that first set your soul on fire. The final trumpet of alignment, the aura of divine rearrangement. There is a trumpet sounding in the unseen, not the sound of metal, but the vibration of purpose calling creation back into divine order. You can feel it echoing through the storms of life, through every loss, every delay, every hidden season that made no sense. This is not just another moment, it is the hour of alignment. The trumpet has been blown, and heaven is rearranging everything that has fallen out of order. What looks like confusion on earth is actually coordination in heaven. What appears as collapse is not punishment. It is purification. The Almighty is not silent. He is shifting. He is pulling down the false towers that men built to glorify themselves, and He is raising the humble who stayed faithful in silence. You, the chosen one, are standing in the midst of a holy recalibration. The trumpet of alignment has one purpose: to wake up what has been asleep and bring it back into divine rhythm. In this moment, everything that was built on shallow ground is being tested by the wind. The shaking you feel is not random. It is not the enemy trying to break you. It is heaven trying to remake you. The sound of the trumpet is calling your spirit to stand where destiny placed you long before time began. The distractions, betrayals, and unexpected endings were never interruptions. They were instruments. Instruments that tuned your soul for this final season. Every tear you cried watered the soil of your next chapter. Every door that closed was a signal that your alignment was in progress. You were never being abandoned. You were being adjusted. The trumpet of alignment is a call to awaken the original blueprint that heaven designed in you. Somewhere between life's noise and human disappointment, that blueprint was buried under survival. But the trumpet cuts through the clutter. It doesn't ask permission. It declares restoration. This trumpet does not just call people. It calls purpose, identity, and truth. It summons the forgotten and corrects the misplaced. It brings back what was stolen and exposes what was false. When heaven blows the trumpet, nothing remains the same. The foundations of pride crack, the masks of pretenders fall, and the hearts of the chosen ignite again with fire that cannot be quenched. In this alignment, the false lights will flicker and fade, but the true flames will burn brighter. You will begin to see divine justice unfold in quiet but undeniable ways. Those who mocked your silence will watch your elevation, and those who celebrated your pain will witness your restoration. Not because of revenge, but because of divine order. For everything built in deception must fall before truth can reign. And you, the chosen one, were never meant to blend into the chaos. You were destined to stand as the standard in the storm. This alignment is not comfortable. It will separate you from places and people who once felt familiar. But do not mourn what you lose. Everything leaving your life is making space for what carries your next anointing. When the trumpet of alignment sounds, it does not come with applause. It comes with correction. It comes with clarity that burns through illusions. It forces you to face yourself, to release control, and to surrender to a rhythm greater than your understanding. The chosen cannot remain in compromise. The trumpet will not let you. It will echo through your dreams, your thoughts, your spirit, until you return to the posture of obedience. For this is the season where heaven is not rewarding appearance but truth. Titles will crumble. Platforms will fall. Only those built on genuine faith and humility will remain standing when the shaking stops. Do not fear the realignment, for it is the sign that heaven has not forgotten you. The shaking is proof that you are still in divine focus. If you were forgotten, you would be left untouched. But because you are chosen, you are being refined. The trumpet has sounded to wake the sleeping warriors, to revive those who grew weary, and to expose the hidden glory placed in ordinary vessels. Your alignment will not look like comfort. It will look like confrontation with your own calling, your own silence, your own destiny that refuses to stay buried. The trumpet is calling you to remember what you carry. You are not called to chase validation. You are called to release revelation. You are not meant to fit into systems. You are meant to break them. The trumpet of alignment is not asking if you are ready. It is declaring that the time is now. The divine timeline has reached its moment of convergence. Heaven and earth are meeting, and everything out of sync is being forced back into order. That's why you feel the tension, the pressure, the restlessness. It's alignment in motion. So stand firm in the shaking. Do not run from what is being rearranged. The same trumpet that disrupts is the one that delivers. It will tear down your comfort, but build up your calling. It will remove your crutches, but restore your wings. The trumpet is heaven's way of saying, enough of delay, it's time for destiny. And those who have ears to hear will rise from the ruins and stand in divine order. For this is the hour of alignment, the moment when heaven reclaims what belongs to it. The trumpet has sounded, the shift has begun, and the chosen are waking up to who they've always been. The separation of light and shadows, the great divide within hearts. There is a trembling in the spirit realm that no human ear can fully hear, yet every awakened soul can feel it. It is the moment when light and darkness are being separated, not merely in the world around us, but within the hearts of men. This is the season of unveiling when the true and the false can no longer share the same space. The line has been drawn, silent but absolute. Every heart is being weighed, every intention tested. It is no longer about what people say, but about what their spirit carries. The world has learned how to disguise corruption with charm and how to decorate deception with language that sounds holy. But the light that is coming will expose it all. The days of pretending are over. The era of purity has begun. The separation of light and shadows is not happening in palaces or parliaments alone. It is happening in you. It is the inner war between who you were and who you are called to become. The old you clings to comfort, but the new you craves truth. The shadow of compromise fights to survive, but the light within is rising to conquer. Every choice you make now is prophetic. You are either aligning with light or hiding in shadow. There is no middle ground anymore. The illusion of neutrality has expired. Heaven is not asking for perfection, but for clarity, to know where you stand. For those who carry light will soon walk through dark places, and they must not confuse compassion with compromise. In this sacred separation, some relationships will fade, some platforms will crumble, and some identities will dissolve. It is not rejection, it is refinement. Those who were attached to your shadow cannot follow your light. The divine is not punishing you by removing people. It is protecting your purity. You may feel lonely for a time, but the solitude is sanctified. It is the chamber where heaven teaches you the difference between affection and assignment. You are being trained to see beyond faces and titles, to recognize spirit by truth, not by appearance. The separation of light and shadows is about discernment, to know what carries life and what drains it. This is why confusion has been heavy lately. It is not chaos, it is clarity in disguise. The light is revealing hidden motives, exposing silent betrayals, and uncovering what was disguised as loyalty. Those who pretended to walk with you are being unmasked, and though it hurts, it is holy. The divine does not separate to shame, it separates to strengthen. You are being purified by awareness. Your eyes are being opened, not for judgment, but for protection. For light cannot dwell where deception is tolerated. You cannot walk in both worlds anymore, the one that flatters your ego and the one that fulfills your purpose. One must die for the other to live. This separation is not only external, it's deeply internal. You will feel old desires breaking, familiar patterns losing their grip, and habits you once excused suddenly feeling heavy. The Spirit of truth will not let you rest in half-truths. The light within you will begin to convict, correct, and cleanse, not to condemn, but to transform. You may find yourself restless, unable to tolerate what once entertained you. That is the light taking dominance. The shadow can no longer lead when the divine calls you higher. This process is not painless, but it is purposeful. For before light reigns outwardly, it must first reign inwardly. And as this separation unfolds, the world will enter confusion, calling darkness light and light darkness. The loudest voices will not always carry truth. Sometimes truth will whisper while deception shouts. But those who walk in light will not be deceived. They will know truth not by the words spoken, but by the presence carried. You will begin to recognize people not by what they claim, but by what your spirit feels when they enter a room. Energy does not lie. Light cannot pretend. The divine is restoring spiritual vision, the ability to discern essence beyond expression. This is your safeguard in the hour of deception. Do not fear the division, for it was written long ago. Every great awakening begins with a great separation. The light must first reveal the shadow before victory can come. This is why exposure is happening everywhere, in systems, in churches, in governments, and in hearts. The truth is breaking through layers of tradition, ego, and manipulation. What was once hidden under performance is now standing naked before heaven's fire. And though it looks like judgment, it is mercy. For exposure precedes redemption. What is revealed can be healed. What is brought to light can finally be made right. You, the chosen one, have been prepared for this hour. That's why your discernment has been intensifying. You are not paranoid. You are perceiving. The Spirit is sharpening your sensitivity so that you will not be seduced by counterfeit light. There will be movements that sound divine but are built on pride. There will be leaders who speak truth but lie falsehood. Yet those rooted in genuine light will not be deceived. They will stand steady when others fall, because their foundation is not applause. It is authenticity. The separation of light and shadows is heaven's way of protecting the next generation from spiritual corruption. It is creating a remnant that carries truth without mixture, faith without fear, and love without lies. So let the separation happen. Do not chase what's leaving or mourn what's ending. You cannot walk into your next chapter carrying those who were assigned to your last. Let the shadow fade and let the light rise. This is not just a season. It is a summons. The trumpet has sounded not to divide by hate, but to distinguish by truth. The ones who choose light will walk in authority, while those who cling to darkness will fade into confusion. And when the final unveiling comes, when the world is drowning in illusions, the chosen will stand as beacons, not because they were perfect, but because they stayed pure. The separation of light and shadows is the cleansing before the glory, the pruning before the power, the stillness before the storm. It is heaven's way of reclaiming authenticity in a world addicted to image. And to those who remain steadfast, who choose truth even when it costs comfort, the promise is this: when the darkness deepens, your light will not dim, it will define you. For this is the hour when light and shadow can no longer coexist. And heaven has chosen you to stand on the side of the flame that never dies. The hidden ones are rising from silence to divine spotlight. There is a stirring beneath the surface of the world, a quiet rumble that no headline can capture. It is the sound of the hidden ones awakening. For years they have walked unseen, carrying light through the dark corridors of life, misunderstood, overlooked, and forgotten by men, but never by heaven. Their stories were buried beneath layers of rejection, their gifts dismissed, their hearts broken by those who could not see their worth. Yet in the unseen, heaven was watching, shaping, refining, and preparing. The hidden ones were never being punished by isolation. They were being prepared in silence for revelation. The season of hiding is ending, and the divine announcement is echoing through the realms. The hidden ones are rising. They were the ones who prayed when no one clapped, who served without seeking credit, who carried wounds yet kept their worship pure. Their isolation was not exile, it was incubation. They were being formed in the fire of obscurity so that when their time came, no spotlight could corrupt them. The chosen are not made in crowds, they are formed in caves, in the wilderness where comfort dies and authenticity is born, in the secret place where the applause of men is replaced by the whisper of heaven. The world did not see their preparation, but the divine did. And now, the hidden ones are being summoned from the shadows, for the stage of destiny has been set. Every delay they faced was not denial, but design. Every betrayal they endured was a sharpening of discernment. Every time they were overlooked was a divine strategy to keep them pure from pride. The hidden ones have learned to rely not on validation, but on vision. They have learned to find peace not in recognition, but in revelation. They carry something that cannot be faked, authenticity born from adversity. While the world was chasing fame, they were learning faith. While others were building platforms, they were building altars. And now the season of unveiling has begun. The last shall indeed become first, not because of ambition, but because of alignment. The rise of the hidden ones is not about elevation for ego, it is about manifestation of purpose. The divine is bringing forth voices that carry truth without distortion, power without pride, and love without compromise. They are not entertainers, they are reformers. Not celebrities, but carriers of light. Their words will cut through deception like thunder through clouds. Their presence will disturb systems that have grown comfortable with falsehood. The hidden ones are rising not to be seen, but to be sent, to awaken, to heal, to rebuild the ruins of truth in a generation addicted to illusion. This rising is not loud, but it is unstoppable. The world will not understand how it happens. Suddenly, new names will appear carrying an old anointing. Unknown faces will walk in authority that shakes institutions. The hidden ones will emerge from places no one expected. Deserts, prisons, small towns, broken homes, quiet corners of the earth. They will not be trained by systems, but by the Spirit. Their language will be pure, their message sharp, their hearts clean. They will carry the fragrance of the secret place, the unmistakable scent of someone who has walked with heaven through fire and did not bow to compromise. But before the rising comes the revealing. Many are being tested even now, standing at the edge of breakthrough while still feeling the sting of obscurity. Do not mistake this moment. When heaven is about to unveil you, pressure increases. Doors will shake, relationships will shift, and old coverings will tear away. It may look like chaos, but it is divine exposure. Heaven making sure that nothing false follows you into your rising. You cannot be hidden and prideful. You cannot rise and remain bitter. The refining must complete its work before revelation begins. And when it does, the light will not expose you. It will confirm you. This generation will witness the rise of those who were never supposed to make it. The misfits, the rejected, the ones labeled too broken, too quiet, too different. They were never meant to fit in. They were meant to stand out. The hidden ones are the repairers of breaches, the restorers of truth, the voices of repentance and renewal. They will not mimic others. They will move with authenticity. Their strength is not their charisma, but their character. Their power does not come from platforms, but from purity. They will not need validation because they will carry confirmation from heaven itself. You, the one reading this, may be among them. That's why you've been feeling the stretching, the restlessness, the isolation that no one else understands. You've outgrown your old surroundings, but haven't yet stepped into the new. That's the tension before unveiling. You've been hidden not because you're unworthy, but because you're holy. You've been kept away from certain circles because your light would have been dimmed among them. The divine is jealous over your purpose. It could not risk losing you to distraction. That's why the delay has been so long, the warfare so strong, and the silence so heavy. But the silence is breaking. Heaven is releasing your name into the atmosphere of destiny. The hidden ones are rising with clarity. They will carry the voice of repentance like thunder, the authority of truth like a sword, and the gentleness of compassion like healing rain. They will restore honor to what was mocked, and humility to what was corrupted. Their influence will not be built on marketing, but on manifestation, on evidence of divine power that cannot be imitated. When they speak, the atmosphere will shift. When they move, systems will shake. Not because of who they are, but because of who sent them. The rising of the hidden ones is not a moment. It is a movement that cannot be contained by religion, culture, or politics. It is the divine's way of resetting what man distorted. It is the return of authenticity in an age of performance. And those who tried to bury the chosen will realize, too late, you cannot bury what heaven intends to bloom. The soil they used to cover you became your training ground. The darkness they pushed you into became your womb of transformation. Now, the covering is being lifted, and the earth will see what heaven has been hiding. The hidden ones are rising, refined by rejection, awakened by revelation, and empowered by fire. They come not to impress, but to impact. Their words will pierce through deception, and their light will not flicker. They will carry the sound of restoration, the weight of glory, and the evidence of truth. And when they rise, no system will be able to silence them, because they were trained in silence by the voice that created the storm. Their time has come. Their season is now. The hidden ones are rising, and the world will never be the same again. The collapse before the crown, the breaking that births glory. There is a sacred pattern written into the fabric of destiny. Before every rise, there is a fall. Before every crown, a collapse. The world sees collapse as failure, but heaven calls it foundation. It is in the breaking that greatness is born. The chosen ones know this truth intimately, for they have walked through seasons that felt like destruction, but were actually divine reconstruction. Every dream that shattered was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to expose what could not carry the weight of where you were going. The breaking was not the end. It was the beginning of becoming. The collapse before the crown is not punishment. It is process. You prayed for elevation, and heaven answered, but not in the way you expected. Instead of open doors, you met closed ones. Instead of applause, you faced isolation. Instead of blessing, you met betrayal. Yet what you didn't know was that the breaking was heaven's blueprint to rebuild you in truth. The divine cannot crown what still clings to corruption. So the shaking began, tearing away false attachments, stripping down ego, and burning off everything that was never meant to define you. What felt like loss was actually alignment. What appeared like rejection was protection. Every collapse carried a message. I am not destroying you. I am detoxing you. You see, the crown is not given to those who appear strong. It's given to those who endured breaking and still believed. You cannot wear divine authority with a fragile spirit. So heaven allows the collapse to train your endurance. Every time you cried out, why me? The answer was hidden in silence, because you are chosen for more. The chosen cannot skip the valley. It is in the valley that humility is born. And humility is the key that unlocks glory. You cannot rule with pride what you were called to redeem with compassion. That is why the collapse was necessary. It was never to destroy your identity, but to reveal it. When everything began to fall apart, you thought heaven had abandoned you. But in truth, heaven was closer in the breaking than in the blessing. The collapse is the divine surgery that removes what poisons your purpose. It detaches you from illusions, from people who loved your potential, but not your process, from environments that fed your weakness but starved your growth. The collapse exposes false foundations so that when the crown arrives, you will stand unshakable. The collapse before the crown is heaven's way of ensuring that you never confuse success with calling and never replace faith with fame. Do not mourn the ruins. What you lost was never meant to follow you into destiny. The collapse revealed the cracks that pride would have hidden. It showed you who was real and who was there only for your rising. It showed you what parts of you were anchored in fear rather than faith. The collapse was not a curse. It was a mirror. It reflected what needed healing, what required release, and what demanded surrender. You see, crowns are not made of comfort. They are forged in fire. Every tear you shed polished your authority. Every battle you fought built your resilience. Every heartbreak softened your heart, so that when you lead with empathy, not arrogance. Those who have never been broken cannot carry true power, for they lack the compassion that comes from pain. But those who have fallen, who have known the taste of dust, they lead differently. They do not lead for glory. They lead for purpose. They understand that the crown is not decoration. It is delegation. It is the weight of responsibility to lift others from the same pits they once crawled through. This is why your collapse was sacred. You were not falling apart. You were falling into purpose. The divine had to let everything false collapse so that everything true could rise. There comes a moment when the collapse reaches its completion, when you stop fighting what's falling and begin surrendering to what's forming. That is the turning point. The moment you let go of control, heaven begins to crown you with clarity. You start to understand why certain prayers went unanswered, why certain people walked away, why certain seasons ended abruptly. You begin to see that what broke you was never meant to bury you. It was meant to birth you. Every closed door becomes evidence of divine redirection. Every delay becomes proof that heaven's timing is perfect even when it's painful. And when you rise again, for you will rise, you will carry a different light. Your confidence will no longer come from achievements, but from awareness. You will walk differently because you will no longer need validation. You have already survived rejection. You will speak with authority not because of position, but because of experience. You will not need to convince anyone of your worth. Your endurance will speak louder than words. This is the crown, not gold, but glory, not status, but substance. The kind of crown that no thief can steal, no betrayal can destroy, no failure can erase. So if your world is collapsing, take heart. Heaven is not done. You are standing in the middle of a divine paradox. What feels like an ending is actually the unveiling of your next beginning. The cracks in your life are not signs of weakness. They are openings for light to enter. The same fire that tried to consume you will become the proof that you were never built to burn. The collapse is only the evidence that something stronger, purer, and more powerful is being formed. The stone that was rejected is becoming the cornerstone. The one who fell will soon stand crowned, not because of what they gained, but because of what they endured. The collapse before the crown is the sacred transition between pain and purpose, between despair and destiny. Every chosen one must walk through it. You cannot be trusted with the kingdom if you cannot handle the wilderness. But once you emerge from the ashes, you will understand that every loss was a lesson, every heartbreak a healing, every collapse a calling. And when the crown finally rests upon your spirit, it will not shine with the gold of men, but with the glory of the divine. For only those who have been broken without bitterness can be trusted to reign without pride. So let the collapse come. Let it strip. Let it shake. Let it burn away what no longer belongs. For on the other side of the breaking, there waits a crown not made by hands, a symbol not of conquest, but of completion. And when you rise wearing it, the world will see not your pain, but your purpose, not your fall, but your faith. For the collapse was never your ending. It was the sound of heaven preparing your coronation. The final note returned to the flame. There comes a moment when heaven no longer whispers but calls. When the message that has echoed through generations reaches its final crescendo. This is that hour. The message is simple, but sacred. Return to the flame. Return to the place where your heart first burned with truth, where faith was not performance but power, where your prayers were not memorized but alive. The world has become noisy, faith diluted, love conditional. But the divine is calling the chosen back to the beginning, to purity, to presence, to the flame that once set their souls ablaze. The final note is not one of fear or judgment. It is a summons, a reminder that what began in fire must not end in ashes. In this final hour, the greatest threat to the chosen is not darkness, but distraction. The flame has not died. It has only been covered beneath layers of survival, disappointment, and compromise. Life has buried your light under burdens you were never meant to carry. You've prayed for renewal, yet heaven answers with remembrance return. Remember who you were before the world told you who to be. Remember when your love was pure, your worship unfiltered, your faith unshaken. The final note comes not to condemn you, but to awaken you, to remind you that your spirit was born of fire, and fire is never meant to fit into comfort. Return to the flame, for everything powerful begins with passion. Somewhere along the journey, many have replaced passion with routine, intimacy with image, devotion with duty. But heaven is not impressed by activity. It is moved by authenticity. The flame cannot live in divided hearts. It demands your full surrender, not your performance, but your presence. The chosen are being called to burn again, to rekindle what complacency tried to kill. For a generation cannot be revived by cold faith. Revival begins with one soul on fire. You were never meant to be lukewarm, you were meant to blaze. This final note comes as both invitation and warning. The invitation to come closer than before, to live consumed by the sacred flame of purpose. The warning that those who choose comfort over calling will fade with the temporary. The divine is separating the burning from the barren, the committed from the casual, the true from the counterfeit. You cannot serve the eternal while clinging to the temporary. This is the moment of decision, to either return to the flame or remain in the smoke of what used to be. Haven is calling for purity again, for hearts that love without conditions, for souls that burn without fear. You have felt it, the quiet stirring, the unease in your spirit, The divine discomfort that refuses to let you settle. That is not confusion, it is calling. The flame is calling you home. The fire you once felt has not forgotten you. It waits in the same place you left it, in surrender and worship and faith. The moment you turn back, it will meet you with warmth that feels both ancient and new. You do not need to fix yourself before returning. The flame itself will refine you. It burns away the fragments of pride, the residue of pain, the heaviness of doubt. It purifies not to destroy, but to restore. Return to the flame, for the world is growing darker. Many are losing sight of truth, confusing light for noise and holiness for hype. But in this final hour, Haven is not looking for the popular. It is seeking the pure, the chosen ones who will stand when others fall, who will burn even if no one watches. The flame does not require fame, it requires focus. It calls you to lay aside distractions, silence opinions, and listen again to the whisper that once set your life on course. You are being invited to return to simplicity, where faith felt alive, where your yes meant everything, where you lived not for approval but for purpose. The flame is both beautiful and dangerous. It comforts and consumes. It will not allow you to remain divided. To return is to surrender your will to divine design. It will cost you everything false, but it will give you everything real. It will strip your identity of imitation and reveal the essence of who you truly are. The chosen cannot burn half-heartedly. Half fire never changes the world. The divine is calling for those who will ignite not with borrowed passion, but with authentic conviction. You are not being called to religion, you are being called to relationship. A raw, living connection with the source of all light. The final note is heaven's reminder that time is sacred. The world runs faster, but truth stands still. Many chase purpose but forget presence. Many perform miracles but lose intimacy. But the flame is calling you back to the place of first love, the place where tears were prayers and silence was holy. The flame that once gave you strength when the world gave you pain. The same flame that whispered, "You are chosen," when you doubted your worth. That flame is not gone. It waits patiently for your return, ready to burn away the weight that made you weary and breathe new life into your spirit. To return to the flame is to return to your origin, to the fire that formed you, the truth that sustained you, and the purpose that chose you before time began. The divine is saying, I have not changed, come back to the fire. The world has changed, hearts have grown cold, but the flame still burns. It still calls your name in the night, still waits in the quiet moments you ignore, still flickers in the fragments of your dreams. It is not too late to return. The final note is not a warning of doom. It is an invitation to renewal, to come back to the altar of authenticity and let your heart burn again for what is eternal. And when you return, you will not just remember, you will reignite. The flame will not only consume what is false, it will commission what is real. It will empower you to speak with clarity, to move with courage, and to live with conviction. You will burn not with the fire of anger, but with the fire of purpose. You will become the flame for others still lost in the dark. For this is the call of the final note, not to scare you, but to send you. The chosen are being called back to fire so they can carry it to a world drowning in coldness. So hear this final message. The divine is not asking for perfection, only passion. Not for rituals, but relationship. Return to the flame. Return to where it all began. The place of truth, of power, of presence. Let the fire cleanse you, fill you, and crown you. For in the end, it will not be titles, wealth, or fame that matter. Only one thing will be asked you, did you keep the flame alive?